Namaskar, this is Akhilesh Bhargava. Welcome to Tit-Bits on Business and Finance with me. As part of its functioning of administering the income tax law in the country and collecting taxes, gathering taxes, the income tax department is expected to hound the dishonest taxpayers, but on the other hand, it must honor the honest taxpayers. However, sometimes, because of its zeal, because of its authority, because of its high-handedness at times, the reverse happens. The honest ones get harassed, the honest ones do not get honored, they don't get the kind of treatment they deserve. On the other hand, the dishonest ones escape, or ironically, they are honored at times. Because of this situation, the income tax department faces certain challenges. There are challenges of tax evasion, there are challenges of poor compliance, low tax base in the country. Just about 3 to 4% Indians pay taxes, which is a very unsustainable level of tax compliance for a developing nation. Taxpayers do not trust the department. There is a deficit of trust between the taxpayer and the department, and that's because of high-pitched assessment orders that get passed, high-handedness of certain officials at times, harassment that the taxpayers face, and the resultant corruption. This distrust is a major challenge that the department faces, and because of all this, the department faces tax collections which are certainly not up to the mark. The biggest challenge that the department faces, according to us, are those of widening the tax base of the country. We need to do that desperately. We need to make assessments which are fair and transparent, and in the process of doing that, we should be able to earn the respect, the trust of the taxpayer. After all, it is the taxpayer who pays tax to the nation, and it is because of him, if we have to say so, that the very existence of the income tax law and department gets justified. These challenges, these goals of the department are now being met through the onset of technology in the form of e-governance and digitization. These objectives are getting achieved because of the onset of technology in administrating the income tax law of the country. A couple of recent changes, a couple of moves by the income tax department because of technology, according to us, are going to be good for the taxpayer. They are going to be good for the income tax department too, and they are worthy of a discussion. The first move, let's talk about Form 26AS. Form 26AS is like the taxpayer's account in the books of the income tax department. It contains details of all the income tax that has been paid by the taxpayer, whether by way of advance tax, self-assessment tax, etc., or TDS to his credit or TCS to his credit. Therefore, Form 26AS has got all the details of your tax paid, and if the details of tax paid to your credit are available, then certainly along with that are details of income that you have earned, which must be taken into account for the payment of taxes. With this, what happens is that the tax credit that you must get is known. The income tax department cannot not give you the credit of tax that is due to you as per the Form 26AS. And even if you may not have the required documents like a TDS certificate, you will still get credit for the tax that is reflected in the Form 26AS. That's a good initiative that started a few years ago, and that has been extended now by the income tax department. So apart from containing data regarding your income and taxes paid by you, the Form 26AS data is now being extended to include all the details of high value transactions that any taxpayer may have incurred during the respective year. If you have bought a property, if you have sold a property, if you have withdrawn cash beyond a certain point, if you have made investments of a large amount, they are now going to be reported in your Form 26AS. And we think that that is a good initiative for the simple reason that when you are filing your income tax return, you will need to take these high value transactions and their effect on your income for the purpose of filing your ITR. That's a good reminder. It's a good reminder to those who are honest that do not skip, do not overlook any of these transactions which might have an impact on your income for the year, your tax liability for the year. Thus, while it is a reminder for the honest taxpayers, it is certainly a warning to the dishonest ones. It's a warning that you are under watch. It's a warning that the income tax department is aware of the kind of transactions that you have transacted during the year and its impact on your income, and you better take it into account while filing your return, or those who don't file their returns better file your returns. We think that this is certainly a good move. It will help, according to us, a better level of voluntary compliance. It will actually reduce the need for tax consultants, especially for those assessees who can't afford them. All the data is there before you. Take it into account and file your income tax return correctly. It will ease the e-filing of returns, and it will help the taxpayers, as we said, those who are honest. By virtue of including all these transactions, by virtue of considering it for the purpose of filing your income tax return, the number of scrutinies or the number of unwanted inquiries that come because of you not including certain transactions are certainly going to go down, which is in effect reducing the harassment that a taxpayer faces at times. It will also get new taxpayers in the system, because now that the department is informing you that we know that you have incurred certain high value transactions, you are certainly not going to skip filing your return. The tax base will widen and tax evasion will be deterred. We thus think that this move is a wise move. It needs to be applauded, and it is friendly for the taxpayer as well as the tax department. The other move which is now taking shape is faceless scrutiny, as it is called. Faceless scrutiny was introduced by the Income Tax Department from October 2019, and under it, about 58,319 notices were sent last year, out of which 7,119 scrutinies by way of a faceless assessment have already got completed, and in only 291 cases has the department made additions. Faceless scrutiny was needed because any tax scrutiny used to result in unwanted harassment to the assessee. He needed to engage a tax expert. He needed to have visits to the department. Meetings were needed, hearings were needed, calls came, notices came, and that was quite avoidable. Where is the need for all this? If the department can connect with the assessee and ask for the details concerned, verify it, and if all of it is found to be in order, then why the need to have any kind of a human interference? But there was another issue. The income tax officer knew his assessee and the assessee knew him, and that resulted in a certain level of corruption that came in. Faceless scrutiny is taking care of both these issues. How does it function? It's worth having a look. The faceless scrutiny is actually an e-assessment, and it is administered through the National E-Assessment Center located at Delhi. You may be an assessee at Mumbai, but your assessment may take place at Guwahati, Jabalpur, or any other city in the country, depending on how the National E-Assessment Center at Delhi, in a very random and automated mode, decides who's going to be the assessing officer and where will he be located. Therefore, the word faceless, both don't come face to face with each other, both don't know each other. To keep further checks on the entire process, to ensure that it is transparent, it is fair, and corruption doesn't take place, there are various other units which work together with the assessing officer. There's a verification unit which verifies all the documents filed and which also gets into any kind of statements that might be recorded, etc. There's a technical unit which advises the officer in terms of accounting practices, the law, valuation, transfer pricing, etc. A review unit reviews all the work that has been done by the assessing officer, including approving the draft order, and after that it gets over. It is this arrangement which is actually good for the assessee. It is not going to result in harassment, and for all you know, orders are going to be far more fair. High-pitched orders are certainly going to be avoided. We think this also is a good initiative, and it will improve the image of the department in the long run. What is our perspective on this? As we said, these are good initiatives. A detailed Form 26AS will improve tax compliance. It will identify evaders. It will give comfort to those who are honest taxpayers. It will also add to the entire transparency of the income tax department, which is so badly needed. The faceless assessment will also weed out any kind of harassment and high-pitched assessments and corruption, and we think it is certainly a prudent move. But then, with all this happening, the larger issues also need to be resolved. Income tax law needs to be simplified. The procedures that we have, which are so many, need to be reduced. The forms also need to be simplified. And all those retrospective assessments, which have been often called as terror tax, that culture needs to be weeded out. If all that is done, it will go a long way in building trust between the taxpayer and the tax department, which is in the interest of the country. Yet another initiative which came a couple of days ago was the income tax department is now going to share all your data with the intelligence agencies of the country. It anyway shares your data with 50 other authorities and agencies, but now it will share your data with the NIA, with the NCB, with the IB, and with the Cabinet Secretariat. We think there is nothing wrong in sharing the data. The only thing that we need to avoid is harassment, misuse of data, or the taxpayer not getting a fair deal. We think these moves are needed and more such moves should be added to them. This is Akhilesh Bhargava signing off till we meet again. Namaskar.
हमारे घरों में भी बच्चे होते हैं जो हमसे प्यार दुलार की आस करते हैं।
हमारा भी जीवन साथी है जिसको हमारे ड्यूटी से घर आने का इंतजार होता है।
हमारे घर में भी एक बूढ़ी माँ है जिनके लिए आज भी हम ही आंखों के तारे हैं।
लेकिन हम हमारे घरों में नहीं हैं। आपकी सुरक्षा में कोई कसर न रहे, इसलिए हम अपने प्रियजनों से दूर हैं।
हम में से ही कुछ तो अब इतने दूर जा चुके हैं कि वो वापस अपने घरों को लौट भी नहीं पाएंगे।
हमें गर्व है कि हमारे कंधों पे मुंबई शहर के नागरिकों की सुरक्षा की जिम्मेदारी है। हमारे जज्बे और बलिदान को व्यर्थ न जाने दे। इस संकट के समय में आप घर पे रहे, सुरक्षित रहे।
Now be the first to know about the latest updates on our new news app. Go on your Android or iOS, search for HW News Network. Download our app, choose the language you prefer to get updates in, and be up to date with the latest news.
If you like this video, please share it, and we would love to hear your comments in the comments section down here. Also, please do like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter to get minute-to-minute news updates. For more such shows and videos, well, subscribe to our YouTube channel.